So this is the process that I went through to be registered with the ALLMED nursing agency. Disclaimer once again, one, I'm not getting paid by any of these agencies to speak about my process. So on the 24th of April, there's an email that I was given by a friend to email them that I want to sign up for the agency. I sent them my documentation, and then I think within 2 days, they told me to come to their offices for the interview and to do the test. So I went to the Belleville campus, I did the test. The test was pretty basic. It was literally drug calculations. There was an infusion rate question. There was questions about ethical dilemmas, non-maleficence, autonomy, that sort of thing. Yeah, safety issues. If you're giving IV medication, what do you need to do? If you're taking medication out of the drug book, having multiple signatures, how do you check the validity of doctor's prescription? It was pretty much basic nursing question, and you have to get at least 80% and above for them to sign you up. And then they also took my pictures and I paid for me to get my ID. A day or two later, they sent me my company number. I was like, okay, cool. Then like 2 days later, they called me. They're like, hi sister, we have a shift in Grooteskier in the psych ward if you're able to go. And at this point, I had no orientation, but also I'd been sitting at home for a while now because the shifts weren't coming and that sort of thing. So I chose to go for the shift without getting orientation, and the reason for that is I had worked in this specific hospital during my training as a student. Like majority of my training was at Grooteskier, and also I had worked in this specific ward in my 4th year. So it was literally like 4 months before my graduation. I had worked in this ward, so I was comfortable. I knew what I was getting myself into, so I was more than happy to go for the shift, do the shift, even though I had no orientation. But if you've never been in a certain hospital or in a certain ward, I would highly suggest that you get orientation first. It's just better for you. You don't look like a lost puppy, you're just a bit more competent. And remember, this is my first time being a new RN. I'm the senior staff member and that sort of thing. So if you're a bit more comfortable with the hospital, the other nurses are more likely to trust you than when you're looking lost and that sort of thing. So I had that advantage that I already knew the setup that I was walking into. So I accepted the shift. So for the first month with ALLMED, most of my shifts were psych, and it irritated me so much because I'm not a fan of psych. I can manage psych shifts and that sort of thing, but yeah, it just became a lot for me. So eventually I told them I don't want any more psych shifts. And then eventually I was moved to an oncology ward, and then eventually I was moved to a hematology department, which is like a 7/4 shift. And then at some point I worked at Red Cross. So the one thing that I can literally clap hands for ALLMED is that they forever have shifts, and they have a lot of connections with different government hospitals, from Grooteskier, Tygerberg, Karl Bremer, Victoria Hospital, New Somerset, Red Cross. Like they have shifts everywhere. Like it's literally shifts galore. So that was amazing. And the other one is you literally could choose which shifts you wanted. If you don't like any other ones, you tell them, hey, I don't like this shifts and that sort of thing. And actually got a good relationship with a few of the agency staff there. And they were helping me to find shifts that I liked and that sort of thing. So I like that. And also the third thing that I liked is whenever you're booked for a certain shift, they always send you an SMS to say, sister, you're confirmed for this shift. Because there have been multiple incidences where you arrive at a hospital and the hospital is like, we don't know you, we don't know that you were booked, and then you have the SMS to prove that you were booked. And if the hospital needs to give you a cancellation fee, you have proof. But there's also been incidences where the hospital cancels with the agency, but the agency doesn't SMS you that the shift is cancelled, and you rock up at the hospital and the hospital is like, we're not gonna do anything. And then the agency will be like, no, it's fine, sister, we'll reimburse you, and the money never comes. So that was just one of the cons that I had with them, is the agency cancellation fees would never come. And yeah, sometimes administration was just really poor. Like I've been working with them for almost 2 years now, and in those 2 years, every time I ask how many leave days do I have, how many days do I have, they always say, sister, we'll get back to you. And to this day, they've never called me back regarding my leave days. I don't know how many leave days I actually have, and none of them have ever been paid out. So that's just my frustration with them, is that the administration regarding that is very poor, and also you never get your pay slips. Like I'll speak about it with my other agency, is they will give you, for every single payment that they give you, it's a pay slip with your pay rate, how much you've gotten, how many leave days you have, like it's organized. But with ALLMED, it's not done well. And also having clinical facilitators to come with you for orientation it's always a mission, especially when I transitioned with them to private. Likely enough, the other agency that I'll transition to private with, they orientated me. So I could just say, oh man, it's fine, I'm orientated, you don't have to orientate me. But yeah, trying to get clinical facilitators to orientate you with them, it's also pretty messy. Yeah, also with administration, I've been trying to transition to Mediclinic with them. I've gone to 2 different Mediclinics for orientation. The one, yes, I had a clinical facilitator, but I went there for 3 days. And all 3 of those days I was not paid. I'm like, okay, fine. I was never allowed to clock in. They weren't able to put me into the system for some weird reason. Cool, I went to a second hospital. That hospital, no clinical facilitator came to orientate me. I was also not able to clock in, and also that day was not paid. So just that administration has just been frustrating. So I don't know if it's on Mediclinic side or whether that's on ALLMED side, but just their relationship with Mediclinic, it's not great. Okay, then coming to the information that everyone wants to know, what the pay rate is like. So for a general ward on day shift in a government hospital, the pay that I used to get was about 990, and then it's like 1.1 if it's on a public holiday or it's a Sunday. And then if it was a night shift, then you'd get about 1.2. This is in a government hospital setup. Then if you go into a private hospital setup, for a normal 7/7 shift, you'd get about 1.3, and night shift is about 1.450. But compared to the other agencies that I worked with, their pay rate is not that great, unfortunately. So take what you can and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's my experience with ALLMED. ALLMED, I love them because they always have shifts, but their administration and their pay rate is not great, and that's why I'm not always consistent with them.